Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested in migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once about all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Alright, today's video, I would like to discuss a topic that I have read a news article talking about the New Zealander, the Kiwis migrating to Australia and how that has been affecting the net migration, obviously on the topic of the affected by housing crisis again. So I wanted to go through this news video and also have a little talk. Now, I have thought about, after reading this article, now we know that the government of Australia has already done so much of restriction, putting on a visa application and backlog, delays, and also now they're cutting the numbers of international students, putting on tax on risk priority on different passport country levels, and now they are legislating law to actually cap each campuses or university or education providers in order to control the numbers of migration influx coming to Australia. Now, why didn't they do that for the Kiwis? Interesting, isn't it? If they could also do the same thing, restrict the numbers of migrants coming from New Zealand, I think that will actually control a lot more the topic of the housing crisis, wouldn't it? Let's have a look at this news article. It came out on the 24th of July. That's yesterday. From the Financial Review, you may want to Google. You can find this news article as well. It says an exodus from New Zealand means there are more Kiwis here than ever before. Now, how and why New Zealanders or Kiwis want have an exodus or wanted to get out of or departing New Zealand? I think that's not the topic that we wanted to discuss today. But obviously, you may want to Google to find out more of the issues in New Zealand. Now, what had actually happened is a New Zealander, if they wanted to migrate to Australia previously, let me give you a little bit of a background, is that they will they'll get an automatic 444 special category visa, which is almost the same as permanent resident because they can live and stay in Australia permanently. Okay, and there's only some of the benefits or conditions they may not have as a Australian permanent resident or citizen of Australia, but mostly they could work full-time, they can live there, they could purchase properties. There's nothing much of this differences between a permanent resident or citizen compared to a Kiwi citizen residing in Australia. So what had happened is, if they wanted to become Australian, if they want to become Australian, they are required to go applying to become permanent residents and then apply to become a citizen again. So what had happened with the Albanese government, they have somehow, correct me if I'm wrong, you may want to leave a comment right down below, but the history of the politics between the two nations was the New Zealander was saying, look, it's not fair, because Australians, if they come to New Zealand, and then obviously get the automatic treatment with the special category visa as well in New Zealand, but if they live for certain numbers of years, they are eligible to become a New Zealander, to apply to become a New Zealander straight away. No requirement to go through permanent resident and then via that permanent resident to become a citizen. So the Kiwis are going, that's not fair. So what had happened with our Albanese government, the current government, they were pretty smart. They shake the hand with the Prime Minister of New Zealand and say, oh, why don't we just make it, the same here in Australia? So starting from then, I believe that will be the recent years. what happened to all the Kiwis in Australia is that they no longer required to apply for permanent residence. They could apply straight away to become a citizen of Australia. So that's what happened. So ever since, now if we go back to this news, if we only read the first few sentences, you go, oh gosh, an influx of New Zealanders has brought the Kiwi living in Australia to more than 700,000 first time. 700,000. Now think about this, 700,000, if we were to, divide that and distributed all these numbers, no, not fully, but partially, to the skilled migrations in Australia, we would have a much better migration plan, and we don't need to restrict international students, and we don't need to worry about the housing problem issue as well. So the number is massive. Now, no one has been talking about this until this news article came out. Now, I'm not saying here to Australia should restrict numbers of New Zealanders, but if they wanted to restrict all kind of different visa categories, shouldn't they restrict the numbers of New Zealanders as well? And this has become a floodgate of massive number of Kiwis landing in Australia. Look at this figure. It was all like this, and somehow in 2023 and 24, and this is a New Zealand citizen in Australia, had skyrocketed. Look at that numbers. How many Kiwis have arrived during 2023 and 24? Obviously, it's all due to the economy in New Zealand and the inflation after COVID. So the living standards is not as good as Australia. So a lot of New Zealanders would then choose a different pathway to come to Australia, and that's I think that's understandable. Any human being in the world is always looking for a better way of life, and that's just the fact. So again, if we look at this graph here, you can see the total number of New Zealand citizens in Australia is now 719,000. And that's how much is that with the total population? I just done a Google of New Zealand is about 5 mil. So that is roughly around 15% of its total population of New Zealand are mostly in Australia nowadays, and that is just huge. That is just huge. Now, what can I say? How can I make a comment on this one? All I'm trying to, making this particular video is to, have a transparency there. As I have began with this video, the government of Australia has putting so much restrictions on different type of visas nowadays. That's including international students visa, which the international education sector is the 4th largest export sector of the nation, and they're putting restriction on that. Now, I'm not saying Kiwis do not bring any benefit to Australia, but if they are putting on restriction on international education, shouldn't they also putting on restriction on the Kiwis coming into Australia? Now, seems to be the numbers that have been showing. Imagine 700,000 people coming to Australia, living in Australia, and that how much that has been cost, also affecting the issue on the so-called housing crisis. Now, what are the solution to this? I don't think there's much of solution, but I'm happy that the news nowadays have brought up this transparency on these numbers, showing somehow shouldn't we see checking on our neighbors and how they had affecting the migration issue in Australia. So the renowned the former Secretary of Department of Home Affairs has said that if there's no restriction to be done for the Kiwis keep coming into Australia, for the net migration goal of the current government, he doesn't believe that it will actually reach the goal there, because there's going to be a lot more Kiwis keep coming into Australia. I don't know if that's gonna be true or not, but seems like the trend is moving towards that way. If the economy and the inflation continue to worsen in New Zealand, now obviously a lot of young people will then choose a better path, and they probably will take the luggages and fly over the Tasman Sea to Australia. Anyway, what is your thought? You can make a comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.